How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Dawn of the Dead, the original classic from 1978. This is a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, and is once again directed by George A. Romero, the creator of the modern zombie. This movie stars David Emge, Kevin Foree, Scott H. Reiniger and Gaylen Ross. Sorry if I mispronounced a few of those last names. Before we get in to the story, I just want to say if you haven't seen this movie before and you're about to go pick it up, make sure you get the original. There is a remake, and the remake's well done. There are some things with it which I'll cover when I review it. But the remake's DVD is so much easier to find than this one. This is a little rarer than it should be, and if don't even think about trying to find it on Blu-ray unless you get really lucky. But if you're seeing this for the first time, pick up the DVD, look on the back, make sure the director credit is George A. Romero and the year is 1978. Otherwise, it's probably going to be the remake. Try to find the original. Sadly, a little bit rare. But that being said, let's just jump right into the story. The story opens in a news broadcast room, and everybody is yelling and arguing. I won't make too many 2020 jokes, but you can see that George Romero was a little bit prophetic, and this won't be the last time in the movie that you might be thinking that. But anyway, the newsroom, it's the end of the world and everybody is arguing. People aren't 100% sure what to do, and they aren't 100% sure what's actually going on in the outside. The information, they don't have all of it, and the interpretation of the information is a little up in the air, because this is a new thing that people haven't really done before. And you get things like the most prominent example in this opening scene is there's a list of shelters to tell people to go to, but they know that some of them have been overrun by zombies, and they're debating, do we publish the list knowing that it could help people get out, even though some of the people they're sending to nothing, or in some cases worse than nothing. But if you don't publish it, then people don't have any information. And there's arguing and fighting, and amongst all this, there's your main character, this girl that works at the news station. Her boyfriend approaches her. Her boyfriend actually is the pilot of the station's helicopter, and he says, "Meet me on the roof tonight. We're going to steal our station's helicopter and fly out of here." Now after that, we're introduced to our other two main characters. There is a zombie survival station that has been gotten a few zombies in it. The police are called to get rid of the zombies, but it's so very poorly managed, and it appears that the police might wind up killing more people than zombies. Kind of disgusted by the organization of this thing, there's two cops, a older, more experienced cop, a little stricter and by the books, and a younger cop that, you know, happy-go-lucky and just trying to get on with things, you know, just wanting to get out of there and get to a better place. These two cops decide to leave their units after that whole debacle with the shelter, and they meet up with the people on the helicopter. Someone on the ground, who I think he has a boat and he's thinking about going to an island, asks them as they take off, "Where are you going?" And they simply say, "Up." No direction, aimless, just looking for survival, and quite unfortunately, quite soon, also running out of fuel. They see a mall up ahead, a big, giant shopping mall, and they think, we can get some supplies from there, and of course they can. It's a very good place. I mean, this is back in the day when you had a gun store in the mall with a ton of ammunition, as well as food, and even a hardware store where you can get a bunch of tools from. It's a really cool location, and their intent to just run in and get a few supplies turns into, well, maybe we can stay here for a couple days, or even more than that. And then they eventually start to think, maybe not just a temporary thing. Maybe this mall can be what we're looking for, the ultimate goal in a zombie apocalypse. Long-term shelter, long-term survival. But of course it's not going to be that easy, and you have two fronts coming in. One, the zombies. You see, the zombies in this one have a little bit of their memory, and the zombies are instinctively going to the shopping mall because they remember that's what they did in life. This is a little bit of George Romero's commentary. The mindless shopper becomes the mindless zombie going to the mall because it knows it's supposed to. And that's what a lot of the papers on this movie get written about. But the idea that zombies have a little bit of intelligence was in the first one. You know, you saw them using tools. This one, the idea that they have memories is introduced here, and in the sequels, Day of the Dead and later Land of the Dead, the idea of memory in the zombies is going to be much, much more important, and will actually be one of the things Romero talks about that not too many other people talk about, and it becomes one of his things. But anyway, in addition to the zombies, you have the evil Tom Savini. Well, not evil in real life. Tom Savini, the legendary makeup and special effects artist, in this one he plays the leader of a biker gang. And, you know, in the first one you had human conflict with people disagreeing and fighting with each other and not, you know, knowing everything that's going on. Here, this has advanced to the point where these are rioters, marauders. These are people that want to go in and tear things down. And these are undoubtedly bad dudes. An army of hostile people. Bad people. And this is one of those things where it takes the concept of the first one and builds it up. And that's one of the things with Night of the Living Dead versus Dawn of the Dead, is the scale. It takes the things from the first movie and amps them up. The bad guys are worse. The zombies eat you. There's much more of them. There's also much more gore in this movie. Of course, like I said, Tom Savini helped with it. But the zombies will tear you apart and eat you, and there'll be guts and blood everywhere. And it's gonna be a lot more gore than the first one. And plus you're seeing the world on a larger scale, and you also get quite literally a larger set, a small farmhouse versus a mall, a really big mall. And a lot of people, they compare this to the sequels that get, you know, bigger. So like Alien, Aliens, Terminator 1, Terminator 2, stuff like that. And it really is bigger in scale. It's also very grueling, and it's much darker and takes much more of a toll on you. I find that I can pop in Night of the Living Dead at almost any time and just watch it whenever. But I was with my dad, and my dad was wanting to rewatch the classics, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to rewatch Dawn of the Dead?" And I had to think for a minute. I'm like, am I in the mood? Am I ready to watch this? And in turn, you know, I've seen Night of the Living Dead much more times than I have seen Dawn of the Dead because, you know, Night of the Living Dead's an easier film to watch. That was the very beginning of things, and you start to see things fall apart. Dawn of the Dead is the collapse of humanity, and it's much harder to watch, but it is much deeper and darker, and a lot of people do like this one more. I like both of the first two about the same. I don't know if I had it. I don't know if I really want to try to pick one. I like them both. But anyway, yeah, Night of the Living Dead on a bigger scale. But that being said, there is humor in this too. It's not all dark. You do get the younger cop who is the happy, optimistic part of the movie, and he's always joking and running around and doing silly things and being happy, and it works, and it provides a lot of life to the story because a lot of the other characters are pretty serious. You also get the idea of the mall, and that lends itself to a lot of humor too. You know, you get zombies on an ice skating rink, and you get lots of fun and different zombies that show up at the mall, and like the first one, you might see a few of the zombies multiple times, and you feel like you kind of get to know them. It's like, oh, there's that zombie again. And there is just humor in being in a mall. There's one scene where two of the guys decide to rob the bank because, you know, why not? They pick up the money, and you get the most famous line. He's holding the money. He goes, well, you never know. And then they turn to the bank's security camera and smile with the money in their hands just because why not? And yeah, there is a fair bit of humor in this movie, and that's really a good thing for it. There are a few little things I want to get to before we go. One, I talked about in Night of the Living Dead that there were a few zombie rules that kind of get forgotten in the larger zombie fiction, but Romero does remember them. Zombies are still afraid of fire. The characters use, like, some flares and a torch, and that seems to ward the zombies away. So zombies are still afraid of fire. He didn't forget that. And also, they still use primitive tools. You know, the first one they did that. Most other zombie fictions they don't. But the primitive tools also played into the fact that memory is becoming more of a core element in this series. One little thing is the makeup on the zombies. The zombies turn gray in color whenever someone becomes a zombie, and they did that so that they would look more like the zombies from Night of the Living Dead, although Romero later said he kind of wished that he decided not to make them gray. But that is one thing people remember with this movie, is kind of makes them look weird. But overall it's fine, especially with a lot of the other makeup in this movie being great special effects. You know, Tom Savini and stuff with the gore. So that's okay. One thing I always wondered with this movie is this the same apocalypse from Night of the Living Dead? The movie was made 10 years later, and in turn you see technology and just things of that time in this movie. So is it the same apocalypse? Because it seems still pretty near the beginning. This is right as humanity is starting to collapse and fall, but the technology in the world seems about 10 years later. I believe probably that this is the same apocalypse. It's just using a fictitious use of time, a more flowy use of time, where maybe it doesn't matter that technology changed because it's a movie, you know? In the movie Children of the Living Dead, John Rousseau, who helped write the first movie, Night of the Living Dead, seems to think that they're two different apocalypses, but John Rousseau didn't really have anything to do with Dawn of the Dead, and from what I gather looking at the other ones, and the fact that the characters don't reference this having happened before, I think this is still the same apocalypse, but some people think that the sheriff and his men from the first one, as well as lots of other people, took care of all the zombies in Night of the Living Dead. But I think it's the same one, but I would like to hear what you guys think. So if you want to leave a comment if this is the same apocalypse or if this is a second wave of zombies. One thing that they don't do in too many other zombie movies that they do in this one that I really appreciated is in modern zombie fiction, you either have a gun or shoot him, or you have a weapon, you try to go for a kill shot. In this movie, they realize that if a zombie's coming at you, you don't have to try to kill him, you can just push him. And it's a lot easier. If you need to get through a crowd of zombies, just keep pushing them. And that's not really done in too many places, but it's very effective. Just push the zombies out of your way if they're getting close. And that's done a lot in here. It's not done in too many other places. And I found it was a good idea. One more thing. There are multiple cuts of this movie. There is the theatrical cut, which I have here, There is an extended cut. I think it's like a special edition. It's in a black case and it's a little thicker. I need to find that release. This is a good Anchor Bay release. It looks good, but I need to find that special edition that has the extended cut in. It's like almost 30 minutes of extra footage, and there's also the international cut, and the international cut is, I think, about 30 minutes less. It's a much faster moving version of the movie. I need to see that too. I'm thinking I'm going to do a video where I talk about the alternate cuts. But the alternate cut, the international version, edited by Dario Argento, is Zombie, and when it came to America they call it Zombie Dawn of the Dead. Now, quite interesting, the Italian filmmaker Lucio Fulci did a zombie movie which the producers decided to film additional scenes for and market it as Zombie 2, which spawned a bunch of sequels. I think it got all the way up to 5. So the international cut of Dawn of the Dead has its own set of unique sequels, which I will get to on this channel as well. Zombie 2 is a very good movie. Sometimes you find it in America just as Zombie, so just look at the director, Lucio Fulci. And also, I want to talk about releases. I don't know what's up with the rights of this movie. Like I said, you see the Zack Snyder version of this movie a lot more commonly in DVD shops. But this DVD is kind of rare, and if you see the original George A. Romero Dawn of the Dead on Blu-ray, snatch it up as quickly as you can, because for some reason the Blu-ray of this is not super common. It's pretty rare, and I don't really know why. I'm sure, again, someone can tell me in the comments. But yeah, this is harder to find than it should be, so if you see it, grab it, and I'll keep an eye out for the Blu-ray. I know there's some international releases for this. I think Scream Factory in Europe put out quite recently a big box set. Wish that would come over here. I don't know what's going on. I think this might be a case like Phantasm used to be really rare, and now it's common. So hopefully whatever's going on gets resolved and we can get Dawn of the Dead on Blu-ray super easy, because it should be super easy to find. But yeah, anyway, good movie, obviously a classic. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's like Dawn of the Dead. I mean, it's like Night of the Living Dead, but bigger and darker, a bigger scale, more gritty and hardcore, and more guts, you know? That being said, I do about 95% horror on this channel. I cover lots of movies, so if you like that, I definitely recommend sticking around. To everyone who's watched this far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I might have mentioned this in the last video, but at the time of recording, I'm almost at 100 subscribers, so thank you. That really is amazing. You really are helping me out. I'm going to put a relevant playlist down here. This should be my George A. Romero extended franchise playlist with all the other weird movies. So check that out. Anyway, I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Have a good day.